Most people are more aware of you from your YouTube presence or your internet presence, I should say. And a lot of people may think, oh, there's sometimes a stigma like, oh, that guy's just plays a bedroom guitar player, he doesn't get out there and play. But you, however, have done some touring and quite a fair share amount of gigging, and you also have some original material out as well. Can you talk a little bit about that, and if we can expect to see more of that in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I spent, my career started well before the internet was a
Right.
thing. And it's a funny period these days because you can be labeled this weird term, an online guitarist.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I'm totally happy with that. If that's what people can label you whatever they like. I mean, I'm perfectly happy with the way my career is, and but I spent many years just gigging for a living, gigging and teaching, and
Hmm.
that involved things, playing with big bands, doing musicals. I used to play in a duo with a really great jazz guitar player, and we would do the whole kind of we'd do 4 hour gig every Sunday,
Oh, wow.
um, and function bands, getting dressed up in the suit and the tie and going out and playing at people's weddings. I did that for years.
Yeah.
What I found though after a certain number of years was that I guess we'll talk about this later, but there are other ways for me to develop an income where I didn't feel like personally, I always had a little bit of a struggle with this idea of guys would say to me, "Oh, I'm working tonight," and they would mean that they were going out and doing a function gig.
Yeah.
And it's great if that's how you earn your living. Nothing. I mean, that's how I earned my living for a long time. But to me, the idea of music being a job in that way that was akin to basically a job that you didn't want to do, you were just
Exactly.
doing it to pay the bills. That's not what I wanted music to be. So after a while, I found other ways of earning income and only gigged when I wanted to gig as opposed to making it my job, if you like. And that was a little bit
Right.
more fun for me.
Yeah.
But recently, I think you'd mentioned it when we
Yeah.
were chatting via email. Martin Miller and I did a tour a couple of years ago, did a European tour, and played in Japan. And that was amazing
I
because that
bet, man.
rekindled my favorite kind of environment to play in is a jazz guitar duo
Yeah.
because the interactivity that you can have, and you're both guitar players and you both understand exactly what's going on with each
Yeah.
player because you've studied jazz and you've studied guitar so intensely. So the interaction is just very intense. So
Yeah.
Martin and I, for instance, we would play an improvised fugue every night.
Wow.
And it was totally improvised over a prescribed set of chord changes, but you
Yeah.
just never ever knew what was going to happen. And the
Right.
really interesting thing is, some nights it would be amazing, some nights it would be okay. Occasionally it would be a bit of a struggle, but that's what happens with gigs.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing is just absolutely incredible. Martin and I have a few gigs lined up towards the end of the year as well.
Oh, great.
We're playing in Amsterdam, and we've got some duo gigs kind of lined up. And yeah, I mean, these days, I've got a 7-month-old daughter, and most of my playing is based on playing at trade shows and doing
Yeah.
clinics and masterclasses, because that's what I like to do. I'm a
Mhm.
weird guitarist in that I like to play for guitar players.
Yeah.
Most people hate it because they feel like they're being judged all the time. Like, oh man, he missed that note. Or I don't know why, but I get a bit of a buzz out of playing for other guitar players. So
Yeah.
I enjoy that scene.
Right.
I do work for Laney, and I'm not play at all the big guitar shows. So that side of things I really like. However, I do plan on starting to do more gigging again in a bigger sense because I don't know what's going to happen with this, but the Elba Triangle album is very close to being out now, which is basically this big fusion project with
Yeah.
myself, Swelly, and Alessandro Benvenuti with an unbelievably good band. And that's basically in the final mixing stage. We've got 3 tracks, I think, left to mix,
Okay.
and Alex Argento's doing it, and it sounds incredible. So hopefully we can do something with that. And I have to, this year, try and finish my album because this has
Yeah.
got ridiculous now because things just mount up and I get less time and everything's written,
Yeah.
quite a bit of it's recorded, and then the process just hit a brick wall. Martin and I have also recorded an album together as well, which is
Oh,
pretty
wow.
much finished. That is if I can use this phrase, a kick-ass fusion record with way too many notes on it. Way too many notes.
But I'm sure they're
Unashamedly
quality
straight.
notes.
I'll let you decide
Yeah,
if it ever comes out.
because
But
Martin's amazing as well, and I'll have to see if
incredible.
I can get him on here. He's another one of those players that not only has the technique but the musical knowledge and
Yeah,
the musicality, I should say, like
absolutely.
yourself. And I would have loved to have been able to see you two live. So you're gonna have to bring it over to the States at some point, you know.
Yeah, well, we every year at NAM for the past 3 years, we've done what we call a secret gig. So
Ah,
we would get to LA and we'd basically think, oh man, where can we play? And at NAM, you can't book a venue anywhere;
I
it's
know
impossible.
it is.
So we'd basically we'd put a shout out on Facebook saying, has anyone got a hotel suite they'd like to rent, or not
Ah,
rent, but just give us to play in?
yeah, yeah,
And so we always ended up playing these secret gigs, and like we'd get maybe 15 people there, and they were amazing because we'd be in this crazy hotel suite in LA somewhere with an incredible view, well, in Anaheim, still an
yeah,
incredible view over Disneyland. And I remember the previous year we were playing, and we got to the climax of this fugue thing that we do actually,
yeah.
and suddenly Disneyland fireworks are going off in the background and all sorts. It's just insane. It's like they couldn't have planned it better. It was amazing.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
so we
Well,
should do. Martin and I will do more of that stuff, but I think at some point this year or maybe next year we're going to shoot a DVD as well.
oh,
I mean a
great.
DVD. No, nobody does DVDs these days, but a
Yeah,
video that we
yeah,
can release somehow. I'm showing my age there, but yeah, some kind of video-based product that we can release that's of the duo set because we worked really hard on it and we've got arrangements we're quite proud of, and it's a really fun thing to do.
yeah.
So fingers crossed. If you don't get to see it live, you'll at least get to see the video.
Ah, great, great. Well, I want to get on that mailing list for the secret performance next
Yeah,
year
yeah,
at NAMM.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure,
that's
for
cool,
sure.
man. All right. Okay. Now, speaking of NAMM, I saw you there and we chatted a little bit. And then, like a day or two later, you slipped and broke your elbow. And I even said in a message to you right after that, I almost slipped there because that was
Yeah,
that walkway. They need to do something about it. I saw an older guy fall and coffee went everywhere.
yeah,
So, first of all, I'm sure that had to be painful. But second, you had to think to yourself, this is how I make my living, that had to cross your mind. So hopefully everything is healed fine.
yeah.
Can you talk about how you got yourself back in shape? Was it some of the similar exercises that you were doing nice and slow and everything? Or
Yeah, so it obviously with that kind of thing, it's one of the most stressful things you can have as a guitar player because unfortunately for me, it's sort of a fortunate and an unfortunate thing to the accident really because I actually broke you've obviously got two bones in your arm and they rotate around each other.
right.
And the bone had broken across. It was like a hairline fracture, if you like. So the bone didn't split in half,
Gotcha.
but it was across the head of the bone.
Yeah.
And it was a clean break right the way across. And as you rotate, this is where it rotates from, here in the wrist, obviously. So I couldn't actually rotate my arm. So the pain aside, I couldn't actually get my hand into the position to play a guitar. And the scariest point was where the pain had subsided to the extent where I could actually put my hand on the guitar, but I couldn't actually form. I went to form actually an E minor 9 chord because
Yeah.
everybody's got like a chord that they play when they pick the guitar up. Like a
Exactly.
lot of guys will play like a,
Yeah.
mine is E minor 9. Don't ask me why, it's this. I think I like the sound of it and so on and so forth. And I tried to make that chord and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get my hand
man.
into the shape. And I thought, if I can't do that, how am I going to even move between chords? I can't do the legato thing anymore. And it's a very, very scary thing. But as with everything, the human body's amazing at healing. And it did. After maybe 6 weeks or so, I went back to see the fracture clinic in the UK. And there was a bit of a psychological thing because the guy said to me, listen, you're going to be fine. Here's the x-rays. We've re-x-rayed it. It looks fine. Give it another 5 weeks or so and you'll be absolutely back to normal. And that was that psychological boost you need.
Yeah.
I took the sling off and I was kind of able to, pick the guitar up. But in a way, I was quite lucky as well because it wasn't a really bad break and the bone didn't actually split in half. There were no bits of,
Right.
tissue or anything that were majorly damaged. It's healed very, very cleanly, which means that I now have full rotation again. So
Right.
basically all I had to do, because I still can't quite straighten my arm, so I still have to work on getting it. I have a little kink in the elbow that will go eventually.
Yeah.
But I have to work on straightening the arm and then getting that rotation back, and that took a while. But now that's come back completely, so I can play. And the only thing really that I'm missing is some stamina with the left hand.
Yeah.
So my legato, like I wear out of kind of energy a little bit more quickly, and that's just because I had 8 weeks with no guitar at all.
Right. Yeah.
I just couldn't play. So now I'm kind of getting back into it again. I can play for about an hour before I feel anything at all that's of an issue.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of playing today and I have a very small kind of it's not pain. It's just a sensation that you
Yeah.
wouldn't, that I don't have in this elbow, for instance. So,
Right.
but it'll go eventually. And really, it's just like lots of other people were being positive with me, and I had a few moments where I was quite down about it because I'm a guitar player. I want to play
Right.
guitar, and I couldn't earn any of the standard kind of. I'm very lucky because my website meant I could earn money,
Right.
to some extent, but because of a passive income, and we'll talk about that kind of thing later, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, the normal things I would do, like teaching, any gigging, any playing of any description, I just couldn't do. So that's quite depressing. But as long as you can stay positive with an injury like that, I spoke to so many. Oh, I had so many people email me and say, "Man, I had the same thing happen to me last year or whenever, and I'm fine now." And those kind of things, they just spur you on and
Yeah.
keep you going. And there are way worse things that could happen to you. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you just have
Definitely.
to stay
That-
positive. 8 weeks is not the longest period of time.
Right. Right. It's to people who haven't gone through it. They may not understand the full effect of it. But I myself was in a serious car accident years ago, and I lost part of the tendon in my finger, and I had a head injury. And the doctors were like, "You can still play guitar if you can bend your finger like this." I'm like, "No, you need full flexion." And so the doctors and the surgeon and the physical therapist were not very. They didn't have a bright outcome for my finger. Luckily, I had other people around me, a chiropractor and massage therapist who said, "We've seen the body heal in amazing ways. You'll be able to get this down." So I busted my butt and I got my finger back. But then I had neurological problems where I couldn't function. So there's a long period of time where I was the sole income for my family, and it went to nothing. And so you have that, and then you have,
Scary.
What am I going to do? Because this is all I ever wanted to do. What could I do for the rest of my life if I can't do that? So you get into a situation which can be a pretty dark place if you don't have people like yourself having words of encouragement, especially people who have gone through it, and that can be a big plus. So fortunately you had that. People who don't go through this may not understand, oh, he just broke his elbow. Come on, it'll heal. But when you're faced with the fact that, hey, there's a possibility I may not be able to do what I want for a living, you can get in some dark areas there. So fortunately, everything worked out.
Yeah, for sure. And this is why these days, there's downsides to social media and there's upsides to social media. But one of the great things about social media is, I was in the hospital in Anaheim, wherever it was, LA somewhere, and posted a picture with this sling on. And I was really down because I had no idea at this point what was going on. I just knew I couldn't rotate my arm.
Yeah.
And they just told me I'd fractured my elbow. And it was like, whoa, what am I going to do? And the words of encouragement from people on Facebook, it lifts you, and that's so useful because suddenly your whole mindset has gone from this is the worst thing that could possibly happen to me to, okay, I can get through this, and it's a broken elbow. It's not the worst thing ever, but at the time it is for you. You're thinking the worst, and so people really help you out, and it's amazing. I always think this about the guitar community. People tend to think the guitar community can be kind of a toxic place with lots of big egos. It's an amazing community. The support that people will give you and the encouragement and so on and so forth can be absolutely amazing. So I have to thank everybody who kind of said kind words, yourself included, for that. It was really, really cool to have so much support from people. And when I started posting videos again, people were like, "Oh, it's great to see you back and stuff." So thank you to everybody who posted nice things. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's great. And they may not even realize how much of an effect they have, but it definitely, your mindset also affects how you heal and how you progress in the healing process. So that's a huge thing. Now, talking about social media in that, it's provided you as well as many others with additional ways to make an income through music. So can you talk a little bit about how that started for you and any advice you have to someone else who, like you said, may not want to do that gigging, that playing songs or functions that they don't want to, but want to continue to use music as make music their livelihood?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I want to stress that you can do that, and some people love doing the function band thing. I'm not suggesting for a second that that's not a great way to earn a living. It absolutely is. But for me, I stumbled, let's put it that way, I stumbled across other ways of earning money, and they just appealed to me more as a musician. So I guess this started, I was quite lucky in a way, and there always is a lot of luck involved with anything that you do in the music scene. You have to work and you have to really prepare as much as you can, but there is an element of luck as well. And I started doing the YouTube thing in about 2008, 2009. And in those days, you could start a YouTube channel, upload a few videos, and get thousands of views very quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if you start from nothing, it's very difficult to get views because it's so saturated. It's just a sea of guitar players, and any YouTube category you go into, there's a sea of people doing it now, and the production level is very, very high as well. But back then, you could upload, like I used to have a MacBook, one of the white plastic MacBooks, and just lift the lid up, do a video, shut it back down again, upload it, done, on this horrible 480p webcam, just horrible, horrible audio, horrible video. And you can still see those videos. They're still on my YouTube channel. I don't delete anything. I just keep it all up there. And suddenly started getting views and got in contact when I did Guitar Idol in 2008. So around the same time I started doing the YouTube channel with a guitar player called Rick Graham, who you're probably aware of. Rick is just
He's
unbelievable.
amazing too.
Probably the most technically, I don't know if gifted is the right word. I don't know if that sometimes does people a disservice because the amount of work he's put into it. But you know what I mean by the term technically.
His efficiency, like very little movement, and so
unbelievable, incredible. So we became very, very good friends, and in 2011 we decided. 2010 we decided we'd do not an experiment, but we wanted to see what would happen if we put a 3-day masterclass session on. I think we'd individually done a couple of masterclasses in our local areas that local schools had asked us to put on. And so we thought we'd try this. And to our amazement, when we advertised it, we got 3 guys from the US. We get basically guys from various different parts of the world, not just guys from the UK. And they flew all the way over. They paid for their hotels, so on and so forth. And we just couldn't believe this was happening. And we charged very, very little amount of money, and suddenly we realized, man, we've got to write a load of material because we got these guys coming over for 3 days. Let's get going. And we had like 4 months to write this material. So we wrote all this stuff individually. So I had a load of stuff, Rick had a load of stuff. We divided the time up in half. So we were doing half the teaching each. At the end of the course, I sort of sat there and thought, well, I've written all this stuff and we've used it. I might as well, make little lesson packages out of it and upload them to a website. I didn't have a website at the time. So I'm one of those guys that if I need to do something, I'd rather do it myself than pay someone else to do it.
Yeah.
So I didn't teach myself like full on web coding and stuff.
Right.
I used software packages. I used a thing called Adobe Muse actually, which allows you to do Photoshop style web building.
Right.
Built my own website. And then basically I asked a friend of mine, Levi Quayle, to look at these lessons, and we decided that they were text-based PDF lessons, no videos at that time, because I did have a video camera and I was working for a company called Infinite Guitar, but the quality of the stuff in terms of the video quality was pretty poor, and I thought, I'm not going to shoot videos for this. I'll just do PDF files, because we were teaching the stuff in person on the course with Rick, so we didn't need videos. And so Levi said, well, why don't you record a load of solos that go with the material, improvise a load of stuff, and he'd transcribe it for me. And I paid him some money and he transcribed all the stuff. And Levi was also trying to, at the time, establish himself as a transcriber.
Yeah.
So this was a mutually beneficial arrangement. And so I had these lesson packages with fairly, lots and lots of transcriptions with them as well. And I thought, okay, well, I'll put them online and see what happens. And they just started selling.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe what was happening. To the point where it's a very strange feeling. I started to feel guilty because I was like, okay, I'm not doing anything here. I did the work a while ago and I've uploaded these and they're selling. And my partner, Cheryl, would sort of corroborate that for a while I didn't feel good about it because it was very strange earning an income for work you'd done a while ago. But these days, if I was to give anybody any advice in terms of being able to earn an income using the online thing, as your primary means of income, there'd be 2 things I would suggest. The first is that you need to try and develop a passive income, which basically is where you're earning money whilst you're not working. And that means that you have to produce something that can sell while you're doing something else. Right. Now, for guitar players and musicians, because of the way we're used to earning money, that immediately feels like you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'm not playing, I'm not gigging, I'm not, I'm earning money, but I'm not doing anything. But in fact, you are, because what you're earning money for is you've put the product together, you've put it together with your expertise, and it's the years of work that you've put in up to that point that allow you to produce the product. And if it's not good, people won't buy it. But if they like it and it's good material and you've put a lot of effort and your heart and soul and your musical skills into it and people find it useful, they'll buy it. But the good thing about that is that as a musician, you can be limited in the ways that you earn money. You can only earn money whilst you can physically work. So if you're teaching, let's say you do Skype lessons, well, there's only so many hours in the day and there's only so many students you can teach. It's even harder if you only teach in your local area because there's only a limited number of people, so on and so forth. Skype opens things up to some degree. But if you can have a system where you can do those things, but you also have a passive income, so you can sell products online, and you don't have to do it. You don't have to, if you're like a guy like, I don't, for instance, really like marketing myself. I think I've only ever once paid for an advert for my products. But what you can do is you can obviously do videos. You can do videos of yourself playing. You can constantly be on social media. It doesn't have to be this cynical marketing approach where you're constantly thrusting your kind of products in people's faces and saying, buy this, buy that. I've never done that. I don't think I would feel comfortable doing that.
Right.
But if you're online, you're putting videos out, people like your products and they like your playing, then you can develop a passive income without any of the kind of marketing spiel or whatever that goes with it that you see on, you can't help but scroll down the Facebook feed these days and there's advert after advert after advert.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that. You just need to be present on social media, uploading material, uploading videos and so on and so forth. And, you can attract people to your website and they'll buy products from you. And, you'd be amazed. A friend of mine, David Beebe, who does the Guitar Hour, he's a great player.
Yeah.
He's just released a new video package called Pathways to Jazz, which basically outlines his experience of how he went from really struggling with playing jazz to developing a method that he used for doing it. And he was convinced that nobody would buy it and that, it wasn't a product that was worth anything. And he spent hours and hours putting it together. It's superb. And was amazed that people are interested in what he was doing, first of all, and secondly, that they would buy it. And these days, it is possible to make a very good income as a guitar player and do the teaching thing, but develop a passive income as well as this kind of regular style income. And I would recommend that people try it. The worst that could happen is you would put a product together or you would find some kind of passive income and nobody buys it, in which case move on and try something else. But, it's a really, really useful way of being able to develop a career. And the great thing for me is that it's allowed me to have more time to work on my own music and my own playing.
Right.
As opposed to having to go out and play. And again, there's nothing wrong with this if this is what you like doing, but go and play Mustang Sally every night at a wedding where people aren't really listening and they're not really appreciating it anyway. So, that wasn't for me. So this works out better basically for me as a musician.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I personally, for 9 years, was in a band playing other people's material, and it paid great. I traveled, did a lot of great gigs, but it was more of a social experience than a musical experience,
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not why I got into music. So to find ways to convey what I feel through music was more important. So you have to find other ways. Now, you had said, since the market's so saturated today, do you have any suggestion as far as how to do that, or is it just consistency, like you said? Just continue to get yourself out there and be able to have your plan allow time for it to build so you can sell things.
I think these days, I don't think you have a lot of option unless you have something really, really unique, which most of the guys who have something very unique, they probably didn't work on it. It just was something that came out naturally. Right. So maybe they've got a unique presentation style for their videos, or maybe they've got a very unique thing about their playing. I think if you try and manufacture that, it will always come across as being fake or overproduced or whatever. So really, these days, the way, like you say, is consistency. It's consistency of content, consistent uploading, and just being there all the time. Like a guy who's doing really well with this stuff now is Ben Eller, who's got this. He does this "Why You Suck at Guitar" channel, which, Ben has really consistent content, uploads all the time, has huge numbers of subscribers now, and does very well for himself via that YouTube channel. And it's a really great, viable method for developing an income stream now. That, if you're going to have a go at it, all you need is a video camera, some lights, and none of those things cost a great deal of money. And, it's another skill that you can learn. So video production, video editing, the more skills these days that you can develop as a guitar player, it can just be, if you're very, very lucky, it can just be about guitar playing. Yeah. If you get the right gig, and eventually, unfortunately, those gigs will probably, that particular gig will probably end and you'll have to find something else to do. So it's great to develop other skill sets, being a video producer, understanding how computers work, understanding audio engineering, understanding mixing, understanding how to use Photoshop and develop your own websites. Those things these days, like guitar players have to be career juggling act, you have to do so many different things. And just really, like the one piece of advice I would say that people is quite useful for me was to make sure that you don't have all of your eggs in one basket, as they say.
Right.
You've got like another phrase, finger in different pies or whatever. You have the ability to do different things, not just rely on one gig or not just rely on one income source. Because if that disappears, it's like breaking your elbow. You suddenly find, man, what am I going to do? I've got, I don't know how I'm going to earn a living. Whereas you can do all of these different things and have small amounts of income from various different sources at the same time as slowly building up your social media presence and your YouTube channel or whatever. These things, they take a lot of time, but if you are consistent with them and you've got something that people like, if you're a good player, and there's a lot of good players out there these days. I mean, look at Mateus Asato. Do you know that guy?
Yeah.
Man, just amazing and very consistent with the content, uses Instagram and that kind of thing. And the guy's now touring the world doing clinics for Sir, and playing with Tori Kelly and so on and so forth. So it can happen, it's absolutely still possible for sure.
Very cool. Now you had mentioned the Guitar Hour. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm a complete tech nerd, complete and utter tech nerd. And the only reason that started is because I don't even know. Do you know Twitch, the website, twitch.tv?
No,
So I'm like Andy Wood. Like this probably never came up in your interview, but he's a gamer.
Yeah, he said that a little bit. Yeah.
I always have next to me wherever there's like the guitar, and then there's the gamepad as well. So this is always next to me as well. And so Twitch.tv is basically a live streaming website for gamers. Mm-hmm. And I watch, you'll probably find this really weird, but I watch other people play games.
Oh, yeah.
And they live stream. So, yeah, this is the thing. I'm probably still like 12 years old in my brain, but I still watch that kind of thing. And I'm really into computers and stuff. I build my own PCs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so I never got out of that from my teenage years. And the idea with Twitch is it's a really high quality platform for live streaming. So these guys live stream games, but they're like the new entertainment side of things. Yeah. And I always feel if you want to look at the cutting edge of what's going on in terms of online and social media and even things like advertising and how you can actually build a brand and how you can build yourself in social media and online, the gamers and the tech guys are the guys to look at because they really are cutting edge with everything.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, they have millions and millions of fans. You'll watch them live streaming. There's like 30,000 people watching live. When I do a live stream, I'll probably have, like, if I do one on Facebook, I might get 800 people watching. These guys have got thousands and thousands, so they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought one day, why don't I try this as a live show with, for guitar? And a friend of mine, Dan Smith, who's a really great guitar player, and he's your traditional gigging musician. He plays with a band every night and earns money, as a musician that way. A very, very classic traditional kind of route, and is now moving into more of the income stream online as well, which is really interesting for him. And he had this idea of doing this live show called the Guitar Hour. So initially we tried to do it on YouTube back in 2000 and probably 14, and the quality was atrocious, just so bad. It just like awful. The audio quality and the video quality were terrible. Even though we had decent hardware, YouTube just wasn't up to the task at that point. Yeah. So we moved on to Twitch because I thought, right, the gamers using Twitch, let's do that. And the quality was really, really good. And suddenly we found that we were developing a little bit of a kind of a sort of audience that was consistent. And so because I'm a total tech nerd, it was just an excuse to build up the production values of it. So I would buy like video capture cards and lapel mics and mixing desks and stuff, and
Yeah.
try and get the video quality as good as possible. I ended up using 4K cameras and stuff and all this business. So it kind of, if you like, scratched that part of my personality as well. It allowed me to, the gas thing, the gear acquisition syndrome.
Yeah.
Like I experienced that for guitar and for computers and for camera gear and for cars and for all sorts. I just can't help myself. I'm terrible. So this allowed me to develop that side of things as well, and I could develop the streaming side of things. And again, it was another skill set to learn. So I could learn how to use a program called After Effects and design some motion graphics for the intros and the outros of the show and that kind of thing. And now it's developed into like a season-based show with a very strong audience, and we have really kind of interesting audience interaction. And, it's this consistent thing now where we have different sections. We have amazing interaction with the audience. And so we're doing one on Thursday, and Andy Timmons is live on the show.
That'll be awesome, man.
So it's going to be amazing. So it's developed into this kind of, we're all obsessed with it now. It's just this really cool thing. And it will always be free. We'll never charge people for it. And we just want it to be the whole idea that Dan had originally, I have to credit Dan for this because it was his idea, was to build up a community for guitar players where everything was live and real. Yeah. Because we kind of felt that the YouTube and online video thing had been boiled down to this kind of super edited thing where everybody was editing their videos and fixing things and so on and so forth. And that was fine because it represents a certain amazing technical level that people get to. But we also wanted to bring back this kind of live thing,
right? Still
on social media, still where anybody from anywhere all over the world could watch. But it was kind of 4 guys in a room just having a chat, drinking a beer and hanging out basically, and just playing some, shredding, playing too many notes. Let's be honest, that's what happens. Dan plays with taste. The rest of us just shred.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
That's how it goes.
Very cool. Fun, Very cool. Very now, fun. You had mentioned all the different tasks and new skills that you had learned. So with being a guitar player, an engineer, video editor, computer, an IT guy, if there is a normal day's work, what would it look like for you?
I've got to say I don't really know. It's like, because genuinely, I think there are things you can do. You can have a job where the day is kind of quite structured for you, but especially now with having a 7-month-old daughter, and we have a 17-year-old as well, so we've got like both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. Wow.
There just isn't a day that's consistent at all. So there are things I have to do in my day that are consistent. So I always there has to be some kind of dedicated practice time.
Right.
The thing is, I have a guitar. This is basically my work environment. So I have the guitar in my hands almost all the time. The keyboard is here, and I'm basically doing video shoots, or I'll be answering emails or doing social media stuff, doing some practice, working on a particular thing, doing stuff for the guitar hour, planning stuff for Lick Library. I've got a video shoot for Lick Library coming up at the first week of May. We're in April now, first week of May, so I've got that to work towards. Usually there's some kind of event that I'm working towards, so I'm going out to Thailand, I think, with Lainey the last week of May, so I've got to work towards that. I'm doing the Guitar Summit in North Carolina in the third week of May, so I've got to work material for that. So the thing is, it changes so often. There's always the next thing to work towards that.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to say some really consistent things, always some social media stuff, definitely replying to emails, always some practice.
Yeah.
And always trying to, again, this whole thing of learning some new skills. So I'll teach myself some Photoshop skills, or some After Effects skills, or some web developing skills, those kind of things, because I really do think those are critical for, if you don't have to employ someone else to do them, then it makes you more autonomous as a musician. It takes up more time initially because you've got to learn the skill, but eventually it allows you to be more free with what you want to do. You don't have to worry about paying someone else for it. So,
exactly.
And those skills are always useful, and they allow you income opportunities for things you wouldn't normally think of. So, those things. But yeah, it's a really hard question to answer because there is no consistency.
Yeah,
sorry.
I could imagine. Yeah. So, what does, I know you said you had a couple things coming up that you're preparing for, but a little more long term than that. What does the future look like? Do you have a dream gig or a dream like the ideal situation for you as a musician, or a big
Yeah,
picture that you're working towards?
yeah, it's kind of difficult. I mean, I would love to gig more. I really would. I mean, but it would have to be my stuff that I wanted to play, or the
Exactly.
right kind of gig. So, like in my brain, I'm going to basically play with Steely Dan. That's going to be the thing that,
That
like,
would be
that won't
awesome.
happen. It won't happen. But like, something like that would be an amazing gig where it's the dream gig, if you like. It's
Yeah.
answering the dream gig question, but where the musicality and the level of the players is so unbelievably high, but the tunes are just so well written, and
Yeah.
it's just good vibe stuff. It's good groove based stuff.
Right.
But I would love to be in a position where I kind of had the time freedom to go and tour my own stuff once it's actually out, or
Yeah.
just play with some really great musicians. I'm patient enough to kind of wait till my daughter's older and
Yeah.
kind of maybe there's more of my own material out there and I can kind of do that. So for the time being, you know, I'm quite sort of content with the way things are right now, and doing the online thing and so on and so forth. So for now, that's absolutely fine. But in the future, I do plan on doing much more kind of live stuff, and that's going to start with Martin. We've got this big gig in Amsterdam in November that we're kind of
All right.
working towards, and then hopefully that will springboard into other things. They all need negotiating with my partner though, because
Yeah.
the more time I'm away, the harder it is for her. So
Yeah.
you know how it is. It's
I
just one
know.
of
I
those
know
things.
how it is. Yeah. You have to find that balance, and it's not always an easy task, but
There's
it's worth
negotiation
it.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
great, man. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time. It's fun chatting music with you. I'm sure
Yeah.
we could go on all day, but thanks once again, and we look forward to hearing what's coming next from you. Thank
Thank
you
you so
very
much for having
much.
me. Cheers.